Now that it's June, it is officially the gayest time of the year, and it is your legal obligation to celebrate this. So,
move, I'm gay.
This year, I decided to go all out for Pride by reviewing and ranking some of the most popular LGBTQ anime out there. Although I was finally able to watch some truly incredible shows, I also subjected myself to the worst of the worst, which I am still recovering from. So today, we are starting off with the worst atrocities that I dragged myself through kicking and screaming. Spoiler and trigger warning though, a lot of these anime deal with SA, R, grooming, and abuse, so please proceed with caution if those are triggers for you. If you'd like to see what LGBTQ anime I actually liked, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next 3 videos in this series. So with all that being said, let's get into it. Starting off, we have the worst anime I have ever seen. Super Lovers. So why was this so fucked up? Well, cause our couple is comprised of our main character who goes after his adopted brother who is 8 years younger than him, and he starts grooming him when he is 8 fucking years old. We are talking sleeping in the same bed and kissing on the mouth. And it only gets worse as he gets older and the main character develops nefarious romantic feelings for him. The worst part about all this is that all of the adults in his life see him being abused and assaulted, and even call out his brother for being weird, including his own mother who sees this. But then, they just let it continue to happen. By the end, they were in a full-blown relationship with the main character being 24 and his brother being barely 16. I hated this anime with every fiber of my being. It is a disgrace to BL and the genre as a whole. 1 out of 10. Loveless continues on with the theme of adults going after literal children. This time, our main character is 12 years old and is groomed by his brother's friend who is in college. The only upside to the show is that it helps showcase these signs of grooming and abuse so we can recognize them in our real life. When we think of PDF files, we think gross middle-aged men leering after children. So, seeing anime like this, which feature attractive men in their 20s going after kids, helps showcase the wide variety of abusers there are, and how a lot of the times they are charming adults who are well-respected in the community. Loveless is trash, and a disgusting reminder of the dark days of BLs from the early 2000s. 1 out of 10. Hitorajime My Hero was my most hated anime for a very long time. That is, until I watched Super Lovers. And the thing that makes me hate this the most is how beloved it is in the BL community. The main character is 15 years old, and his abuser is in his late 20s and also his teacher. And even worse, they met when the kid was even younger, and yet they still end up in a relationship together. This poor child is groomed and coerced into a relationship, and you witness the trauma bond form in real time, to the point that he is in extremely high levels of distress by the end and feel like he can't survive without his abuser. Worst of all is that his abuser's friends even have an intervention where you think, oh, thank God the adults are gonna intervene, only for this intervention to reveal that this was actually a test to see if the main character was worthy to be in a relationship with his abuser. Shame on all of them, and shame on the viewers who watch this and think they are couple goals. 1 out of 10. Junja Romantica is one of the best anime representations of the dark days of BL that we suffered through in the early 2000s. I do not hold it against anyone who watched and enjoyed this back in the day, because we had very little LGBTQ representation back then, and we clung on to whatever we could get. The main couple is an 18-year-old and the 28-year-old who is housing him, who then SAs him during their first interaction. It is a case study on what abuse looks like, as the main character is slowly cut off from his family and friends, which gets exacerbated when his abuser convinces his older brother to let him continue living there instead of allowing his brother to rescue him from this situation. The other main couple is between a 17-year-old and a 35-year-old, who is also the 17-year-old's ex-brother-in-law. I hated that they used the disgusting trope of, well, he is the one who forced the older partner into the relationship. Like, get all the way the f*** out of here. It was the adult's job to shut down advances, but no, he just gave into him and then SA'd his victim to prove his point. Like, just admit that you want to f*** a child and be honest with yourself. I literally hated this garbage anime. 2 out of 10. Yes, no, or maybe could have been a cute anime. You've got an adult relationship about people accepting each other for who they are underneath the mask and helping each other grow and better themselves. It also deals with the intense pressures of Japanese work culture and finding your path forward in a position you fell into, unaware of the massive responsibilities that came with it. But no, it just had to end with an R scene that was played off as romantic. What in the actual I had watched this a while back, but I rewatched it for this project, and Jesus did it ruin my night. They could have been a cute couple, but they just had to dive into the worst aspects of toxic BLs. 2 out of 10. Citrus has been described as a GL with all of your stereotypical toxic BL tropes, and I could not agree more. It's got non-con SA, borderline R, sexual awakening that's brought on by getting SA'd, and pseudo-incest to top it all off. The perpetrator is the main character's new stepsister, who uses the whole "I'm broken, so it's okay that I'm salting you" dribble, and then pulls away when her victim starts getting attached, only to then pull the "we're siblings, we can't do this" card. And then, in true scumbag fashion, they prop up this abuser by introducing even worse characters to be like, hey, look, she's not that bad, look at this bitch! All leading to the main character getting trauma bonded to her abuser and being the one to chase after her finally getting into a relationship at the end of the show. I will never understand why this train wreck of an anime is so beloved in the GL community. Like, do y'all just not know that there's genuinely good anime out there? Or do you just not care about the red flags that comprise this anime? F this show, 3 out of 10. Bon Vampire is a vampire BL, which is absolutely amazing. And the main character is even a kind-hearted person who helps protect the family who saved him when he was on the verge of death. Seems like a pretty cool guy. Wait, why is he staying there to protect him? Oh, right, it's because the 5-year-old who is now 15 is only 3 years away from being legal, and there's nothing more that Ranmaru loves than fresh, pure virgin blood. So that's why he stuck around, so that he can f the child he's been silently grooming once he turns 18. Cool, awesome, love this for us, and also what in the actual f? This anime also never gets better. It just continues to stay horrible the whole time, and I am so upset that I had to watch it for this video. 3 out of 10. Daikachi, I'm Being Harassed by the Sexiest Man of the Year is one of those shows that when I first watched it, I was kind of indifferent about it. It also has decent spice, so, that's something, but what's that? The spice starts off as coercive SA and continues to push the main character's boundaries until he just gives into the relationship with his abuser by the end? Fucking yikes. And then I read the manga, and Jesus the anime tames it down by seriously dialing down their first spicy encounter, but in the manga, the main character is just straight up R-worded by his love interest, and then continuously worn down until he starts a relationship with him. And yet, The anime spins this as a sexy adventure between two semi-consenting adults who in reality is just an abuser wearing down his victim until he doesn't have the energy to say no anymore because it's just easier for him to give in. Hopefully now that you know the truth about their relationship and how it started off with R, and that is just continuous coercive SA, you will see this series for the absolute horror anime that it actually is. 3 out of 10. High School Life of Fundanshi proves that Fundanshi can be just as toxic as Fujoshi in the disturbing behavior of fetishizing the real-life gay people in their lives. The reason that this pisses me off so much is that it helps prop up the notion that Fujoshi and Fundanshi fetishize all real-life gay people in their life, and therefore the entire BL genre is just toxic fetishization. And yes, there are those people in the community who are like this, and their actions are disgusting and deserve to be called out. This anime feeds into the notion that BL fans are just straight women, and sometimes men, who fetishize gay relationships, which erases the massive LGBTQ audience who also makes up the BL community, and just lumps us all together. Another major strike to this anime was that there is a character who is somewhere under the trans non-binary gender fluid umbrella, whose gender is used as a punchline and they're labeled as a trap. It's 2025. Can we officially call that behavior unacceptable already? People aren't traps. You are just a bigot. 4 out of 10. Love Stage is another beloved BL title that so many people hold in high regard. Except our couple's relationship is built off of the main character getting, can you guess it, essayed by his partner. The only saving grace is that the abuser in question realizes his faults and eventually comes around by the end to apologize and take accountability for this reprehensible behavior. I literally cannot stand the trope of relationships stemming from SA, and that being the sexual and romantic awakening for both partners. It sets such a dangerous precedent, perpetuates a ridiculously toxic trope, and if we want to get real, invalidates and triggers real-life SA victims. I am not going to change my mind on this one. Love Stage is just not a good anime, and its major popularity reminds us that the bar is in hell. 4 out of 10. Gaku in Heaven is hands down one of the most boring anime I have ever fucking watched. Like, good God, this was a slog to get through. When looking up the info about this, I found that this anime is based off of a BL dating sim, and suddenly it all starts making sense, cause yeah. The way the storylines are pieced together, the framing of the anime, and how things resolve are probably frame for frame accurate to the original game. This was a rough one to get through, and was only somewhat saved by the ending, which finally had an engaging storyline and some type of actual tension. It still ended on such a lackluster point though, but at least I was able to be somewhat engaged by the end. 4 out of 10. Happy Sugar Life is such a good horror anime. Like, if we're just looking at the horror elements, this might be one of the better ones in the genre. It is a brutal slasher whose tension has you in a chokehold by the end. The main character starts off the series by abducting a child who she builds a family with. She then goes around unaliving anyone who gets in the way of their newfound family. As the bodies pile up, the walls start closing in, and you see just how fucking psychotic she is and how much danger this poor child is as she gets pulled deeper and deeper. So why is this anime trash then? Well, because the 16-year-old main character and the 8-year-old child that she abducts have a romantic connection. You heard me. They have a romantic fucking connection. Oh, this shit pissed me off because at first you think maybe their love isn't romantic love, it's just familial love, but since they were both abused growing up, that's what they think romantic love is. But then at the end it is revealed that no, this is a romantic connection and the two want to get married and grow old together. Fucking gross. 4 out of 10. Adachi and Shimamura was fine, I guess. Like, it's a romantic slow burn slice of life, and by slow burn, I mean slow burn. Like, they don't even confess to each other until the end. So what was the fucking point? Y'all just had me watch 12 episodes of little to no actual plot, and it was boring as hell. Like, damn. The pacing was so rough on this puppy that I had to distract myself with other activities while I was watching so I could try to pay attention better. I only watched this a week ago, and I've already forgotten the bulk of what happened in the anime. That is how forgettable it was. 5 out of 10. Yuri is My Job had one good thing going for it. It revived that old Simpsons meme, so every time I turned it on, I immediately had to say, Yuri is my job. My job is Yuri. Yuri is my job. Otherwise, this is just another nothing burger of an anime. Is there any movement or romantic development in the end? Maybe like 5%, and when you think that it's actually going somewhere, just kidding, no the f it's not. But hey, at least I was able to get through it, so that in itself is a fucking accomplishment. It has such a solid premise too. It's all about a literal Yuri cafe where all the main characters are in a live action play where they act as members of an elite school engaged in romantic relationships with each other. This is another one that, even though it's only been a week since I watched it, I have already forgotten the bulk of the plot lines. 5 out of 10. Kiss Him Not Me is the definition of a toxic fujoshi. The main character is literally that one straight girl who reads BL and then sees men in her life and starts writing fanfics about them and fetishizing them and their constructed relationships for her own sexual pleasure. I literally hated her the entire show, like she never got better. And this could have been such a good show too. Like, the sheer amount of otaku culture and references that are explored throughout was so much fun to point at and yell, see, I get that reference too. This show also starts off with a ridiculous amount of fat phobia, as the main character is ridiculed for being overweight. And then, her favorite anime character is killed off, and in her depressive despair, she doesn't leave her room or eat for a week. And when she finally does, she has magically lost hundreds of pounds and is now suddenly gorgeous. There is already an extremely dangerous diet culture that permeates especially young women in Japan, so this storyline is extra dark and nefarious. She also uses a fat voice that disappears as soon as she loses weight. Like, this anime is trash. 5 out of 10. The World's First Greatest Love is a spin-off of Junjo Romantica that I watched before Junjo Romantica. And just like its predecessor, literally all of the romantic relationships, except for one, are chock full of SA. I don't know why the trope of, oh, if I SA you enough, you're gonna fall in love with me exists. But I 100% blame Junjo Romantica for helping that trope flourish in the BL community. It's ironic because I had a lot of issues with this, but after watching Junjo Romantica, this is actually a good anime in comparison. But the bar is in hell, and that literally says nothing because both of these anime are actual trash and perpetuated the dark age of BL that we somehow survived. But now that it's 2025, I think we are ready to close the chapter on that period and see this anime for what it truly is. Trash. 5 out of 10. Gravitation was a product of its time and should be treated as so. The work that it did to further the BL genre during the late 90s and early 2000s cannot be disregarded. I think we can simultaneously appreciate what it did for the genre, but also look at it for what it is, cause yeah, this puppy did not age very well. It's not as bad as some of the others on this list, like I think this only had one semi-questionable SA scene, but the power dynamic between the main character and his love interest is a breeding ground for abuse, and it hardly takes any time for the main character to completely change his personality and start tiptoeing around his partner so that he doesn't anger him. Gravitation also has one of the most rushed endings I have ever seen, with a very intense storyline that deals with childhood SA, abuse, and unaliving, which gets resolved in a series of quick flashbacks that are all just kind of crammed into the final episode. Gravitation did a lot for LGBTQ anime as a medium, and I will never take away from that. but I think we can all agree that its problems can and should be acknowledged for what they are. 5 out of 10. Love Bullet Yurikuma Arashi is a batshit chaotic anime, which should have meant that I absolutely loved it. Chaos anime is my all-time favorite genre, and this had all of the building blocks to make that a reality. It's got lesbians, it's got bears, it's got explosions, and over-the-top moments that strip characters of their plot armor. But, I don't know, this just completely fell apart by the end, and the campy weirdness just kind of became more of a hindrance than anything. So for me, the final nail in the coffin was when an adult who is also an authority figure to the main character SAs her. It added nothing to the plot, and it was kind of just shoved in there for no goddamn reason. Given an editor and a couple more drafts, Yurikuma Arashi could have been a genuinely good anime. But instead, we got whatever the hell this is. 5 out of 10. Blue Mindy is one of the more controversial additions to this section of the video. For fans of it, I'm sure y'all saw this in the thumbnail and ran into the comments to scream, "What in the actual fuck?" So, let me break down why I do not like this anime. Blue Mindy had the opportunity to showcase and validate different shades of the asexual and aromantic spectrum. The main character and her love interest are clearly somewhere on that spectrum, with the main character possibly being aro-ace and her love interest possibly being lithromantic, but instead, these characters got robbed of their journeys and tossed together by the end, which reinforces the toxic trope that once you meet the right person, you won't feel this way anymore. That people who are on the ace and aromantic spectrum are constantly told. Worse was when Toko literally forces herself on you in a number of scenes, with you literally saying, "Stop, you are violating my boundaries." But then, you is guilted and coerced into being in a romantic and sexual relationship with Toko. Asexual and aromantic people are already ostracized in society, and in the LGBT community too. We do not need anime that's going to reinforce those toxic tropes. As someone who is gray romantic and under the aromantic spectrum, this shit just really pissed me off. Bloom into you. 5 out of 10. Riddle's Story of the Devil is like Assassination Classroom, except with lesbians and not good. It's a formulaic action anime about a class who is given an assignment to take out one of the classmates. So every episode dives into the backstories and we see if they're able to carry out the assassination. But then, at the end, literally all of the characters who were either taken out or completely unalived are all suddenly retconned and now somehow all alive. They had such an amazing opportunity to use the twist at the end that the girl who's being protected is actually a master manipulator and turn this into one f***ed up psychological thriller. But instead, they just wussed out and played the whole, she really didn't know she was manipulating others. Like, can we just let evil characters be evil? I will always reinforce the statement that I am here for gay rights, but I am also here for gay wrongs. 5 out of 10. Cherry Magic could have been amazing, and I really wanted it to be. We have a BL about grown-ass adults, and there's a magical element like hell yes! But the gray consent aspect of the whole mind reading thing just left a bad taste in my mouth. Like, I'm sure that if the love interest knew that the main character could read his mind, he wouldn't constantly be bombarding him with all the sexy and romantic things he wanted to do with him. But it just continues and keeps ramping up until the main character convinces himself to start a relationship with him. But what was even worse was the horrible Fujoshi character whose sole purpose in the show was to lust over the real-life gay men in her life. Plus, the animation budget pretty much just got laughed out of the room, and it looked like a straight-up mess all around. So yeah, Cherry Magic is the definition of wasted potential. 5 out of 10. So to wrap things up, to say that I hated these anime is the understatement of the century. It's anime like this that give the entire genre a bad rap. But even worse, they put real kids in danger by normalizing toxic tropes surrounding age gaps, grooming, essay, and dubious consent. Due to YouTube censorship, I did have to cut out some of my deeper thoughts on this matter, so if you'd like to see me dive deeper into this, I have uploaded the full uncensored version of today's video on my Patreon, which also has the extended reviews of these anime. If you are looking to support a queer creator during Pride, Patreon is the best way to support me. Thank you so much to my Patreon members, especially Jeff Friend, Karen Miriam Goldberg, Horsey Bread, and a massive shout out to Legion Zero. I know that money is tight and life is even more expensive these days, so if that's not an accessible option and you would still like to support me, please consider subscribing to my channel or even just liking and commenting on this video. Next week, we're going to be getting into the mid-anime, so gear up, because I have some controversial takes on some of the most beloved BL anime. Since it's Pride Month, and if you're in the US, there is a high chance that this is going to be one of the more stressful Pride months we've ever experienced. It is really hard not to be constantly worried, anxious, and scared as things continue to get worse. So I wanted to take a moment to let you know that even though we might not personally know each other, I am here for you, and so is this video and my channel. I'm also linking some resources here and in the description for anyone who needs them. These are terrifying times, so it is more important than ever for us to stand together as a community and support each other. Remember that Pride started as a riot, so if it's safe for you and you can stand up and fight the fuck back. Activism comes in all shapes and sizes, from being part of the largest protests to the active daily choice to stay alive. Please know that I am right here beside you. I love you, and I am so happy that you exist and are still here. Please stay here. Thank y'all so much for sticking around, and I'll see all of y'all on the next one.